This Benjamin Sesko thing, and we're going to speak to Alex Crook a bit later in the show, seems to have... It's coming to a conclusion, I think it's fair to say. Newcastle have made a bid for Benjamin Sesko, we believe, in the region of 18 million euros with 10 million euros add-on. RB Leipzig are happy with it. Benjamin Sesko yet has to decide where he wants to go. It's a shootout between Newcastle and Manchester United.
Yeah.
If you are Sesko, you're 22 years of age, you're looking at both projects. What's the better project for you?
Newcastle. I think, because Newcastle comes with expectation, but doesn't come with the same pressure that Man United comes from. You know, whilst people focus on Newcastle, and they focus on it because Newcastle makes a lot of noise, because it's a very passionate football club and the fans are very motivated by it, it doesn't have the day-to-day scrutiny that Man United has. It doesn't matter what happens. You can fight in the corridor of Man United and it's heard around the world. It's not the same at Newcastle.
It's very interesting analogy.
Yeah, but you know what I mean in terms of what people focusing and really dialing into what happens at Man United. You've got Ruben Amorim that's presiding over a 12-year decline of Manchester United and trying to, and Ocean Liners don't turn fast, he's trying to correct it, and I think he's making lots of missteps, but then we probably all would if we were in his shoes. Whereas Newcastle, despite the frustrations around Isak, despite the frustrations of people perhaps using it as a stepping stone club, and they might not like to hear that, but it is a reality. I don't think you lose very much by going to Newcastle. You go there, you're playing on a side that's ambitious, but is a step below the radar. You go and perform at a high level, the opportunity comes again, and it might come at a different stage in Man United's evolution. If I'm a centre forward that can get past the notion that going up to the northeast of England isn't as appealing as going to Manchester, and by the way, Newcastle's a beautiful town, and this idea that this north-south divide and everybody up in the north doesn't have an understanding of culture and sophistication is rubbish. It's a brilliant town. Yeah. So if I were in his shoes, if the economics of the deal were that I wasn't being compromised financially by going to Newcastle over Manchester United, I think it's a great move. I think Eddie Howe, is a brilliant manager. I had my reservations about him in the past. I've had conversations with Eddie. I like him very much, and I think he's done a brilliant job. And I think that the opportunity to go to Newcastle at this stage in Newcastle's evolution, and there's so many things afoot. We're going to talk about the transfer system perhaps being broken down. PSR's getting a buck coach and horses driven through it. Who knows what will happen in the next 12 months as to what Newcastle might be able to do, because we know that if Newcastle are let off the reins, there's no restrictions upon how much finances they can bring to bear if they choose to. So I would be looking at Newcastle rather than Man United, and Man United fans can
Why is he stalling? If you're Sesko, why? Because if you're Newcastle, you're like, make up your mind. Do you want to come to us or not? Why are you stalling?
Because the agents are in the mix of it. There's only one thing worse than no choice, is having too much choice. Yeah. And sometimes, teams get picked and they're down to the bare bones, and actually they perform better than having too much choice. In this instance, it's a career move. It's a life decision. He's probably finding himself in a situation where there's lots of different voices in his ear with lots of different reasons for being there. And there is always the lustre of Man United, irrespective of whatever toxicity exists around the perceived position of Man United. And it's not perceived. They finished in the bottom 5 of the table last year and stunk it out periodically and repeatedly. And so whilst you've got this in your ear, it's Man United, Man United, Man United. On the other side of the equation, the reality of Man United is this isn't Man United that once upon a time occupied this top table. This isn't Man United that's finding its way to get anywhere near getting some of the crumbs off the top table.
Indeed. Let's hear from our European football expert, Kevin Hatchard, who has a lowdown on what Benjamin Sesko is like as a player.
At 22, Benjamin Sesko is still a developing player, no doubt about that, but he scored plenty of goals last season for a poor RB Leipzig team, not just in the Bundesliga, but also in the Champions League. And I think the thing that attracts clubs to Sesko is his physical gifts. He's tall, he's quick, and he has great technique. He strikes the ball beautifully. This isn't the finished product, but it's somebody who has enormous potential and has already played plenty of international football with Slovenia as well.
Kevin Hatchard there, a European football expert. The texts are coming in as well. Remember, you can text us 81089. This one's coming from Dan. Question to you, Simon. Morning, gents. Question, please. Does the modern footballer look at social media footprint when choosing a destination, i.e. Newcastle versus Manchester United?
You asked them. I would think so. I mean, we heard Man United come on here. Man United talking about how they build and bend their social media representations and how they encourage players to think a certain way and saying certain things in press conferences based upon what they've seen trend on social media.
It's crazy. That is crazy.
Who doesn't grown-ups don't, but who doesn't look at social media and form some degree of opinion upon something based upon social media? All that social media are doing is filling the gap that traditional media once did, and what mainstream media are doing now is colouring in the picture. a little bit. Social media creates the narrative, creates the talking points, does some of the research and creates the conspiracy theories. And then traditional media comes along and colours in the picture. But I would imagine, absolutely, footballers, they spend how many times have we been told by incumbent managers or people involved in the game currently that they are telling footballers not to look at their phones, not to come off at half time or at the end of a game, read what people have said about them? How many times are we hearing people being aware of unpleasant and discriminatory things being said and reacting to it? We've just seen an example of it with Jess Carter in the women's Euros, that they're seeing this kind of content. So of course they're going to be privy to it, both good and bad. Yeah.
All right, let's go to the phone lines. Phone lines open right now, 03717 223344. We are talking RB Leipzig striker Benjamin Sesko and where he should go. Let's go to Jack, Manchester United fan. Jack, obviously you're going to say he should come to your club, but why?
I don't think United needs Sesko right now. Sorry, lads. How are you guys? I hope you're okay.
We're good. You saying you don't think United need him?
No, I don't think United need Sesko at the moment, at this time of the project with Ruben Amorim, especially with the two players they just bought in with Cunha and Mbeumo. I think they need a Premier League striker with them, like Watkins, like that we were going for, or Mateta, and something to just steady the ship, get you in Champions League spots for the next few years, and then you can go for a proven striker if you ever make it back again, as you said before we went on a break, back to where Man United was, or at least around the top four. But
I couldn't agree more. I think there are proven Premier League strikers that we know score goals in the Premier League that I think would fit in with United straight away. I'm shocked that no one's actually even put Mateta in the conversation at Crystal. I think he's done a great job. Ollie Watkins, we know, has done a good job as well for Aston Villa. Why always the big thing to go and look abroad when you do have proven Premier League strikers who will cost a lot cheaper than 80 million euros?
With due respect, it's one thing playing for Crystal Palace and hitting a great run of form, which he has done for about a year now. Prior to that, he wasn't as prolific. He was struggling, and maybe just the component parts of the team were different. And you would have felt with people like Wilfried Zaha on the side, he might have scored more goals. But the fact is he didn't, and he's become far more compelling in the last 12 months. As a result of his relationship with Glasner. You can make the argument, if Man United, if you were saying to this fellow on the call now, would you sign Isak? I bet you'd say yes, because but he wasn't a proven Premier League striker 3 years ago. He landed straight in Newcastle's side and hit the ground running. So this kid may well do the same. Man United need a striker. Clearly, I mean, we've had discussions about Man United and talking about the argument that Neil Warnock brought into the studio about 3 or 4 weeks ago, is that he feels that Amorim should build from the back. And then Sam Matterface was pulling stats out of his backside, left, right and centre, as he does, about the fact that Man United don't concede goals. They can't score goals. Man United's problem is they can't score goals, and clearly Rasmus Højlund, has got a 50p head. You're not going to get much from him. That die's being cast.
Yeah, it's done. Yeah.
And and unless there's going to be some miraculous sea change in what Højlund does, he isn't going to be the answer. So bringing somebody in just because he's, the age-old expression, a foreign player. If you had a plethora of centre forwards in the Premier League that were of a high quality, and Watkins is all right. I like Ollie Watkins. He's a good player. He played well for Brentford. I liked him at Brentford. I think he's a decent player. He's had a couple of swipes at me, but tongue-in-cheek swipes about the fact that I didn't think he was going to be a problem for Arsenal when Aston Villa played against him last year, and he went up there and scored. And took great delight in rubbing my face in it. And fair play to him. And I like him a lot. But I think there's a vast difference between even an Aston Villa and Man United, because Aston Villa, whilst a big football club and one I admired, and I used to get on very well with Doug Ellis back in the day when he was the chairman and owner of Aston Villa, I still think that Man United would benefit from somebody that's a very energetic and progressive striker rather than somebody that's at a certain level already. I understand the argument, though.
Again, texts are flying in here. This one's coming from Lee. Sesko should just look at the recent history of players signed by each club and their development. Isak, Hall, Livramento, Hype have all improved their game and status. Mount, Garnacho, Sancho, all struggling to find somebody to buy them. Interesting. Let's go to Sam, Newcastle fan. Sam, look, it looks like Isak is going. Sesko could be the man to replace him. Why hasn't he chosen you as yet? You put a bid in. What's the hold up, do you think?
Well, I certainly think that the hanging off the coattails of Manchester United's past success looks very tempting for international players, and I really do understand that. But you've only got to look at the statements from the players that have suddenly left Manchester to understand what's going on at the club. It's in the news, it's in the tabloids, it's all over. And not to mention their league position last season. Newcastle United, we want to talk about the project, the exciting project that they had, but that, even for me as a Newcastle fan, has gone off the boil a bit. But if we boil it down to the facts, Eddie has a great reputation for improving players, getting them into international squads, and I'm sure we'll talk about it anyway, but look at what we've done for Isak. You know, we took a chance on him a lot in a very, very similar situation to Sesko. We took a chance on him, and look where he is now, the best striker arguably in the world currently, looking to go for record bids.
Yeah, look, Newcastle fans would be upset with the Isak situation, and rightly so. Who wants to lose their best players? But ultimately, you could end the transfer window with Sesko and Visser up front. I mean, look, you still want to keep Isak, obviously, but it's not bad replacements to get a man in Visser who scored, 19 goals for Brentford, and Sesko, everyone's talking about as one of the best strikers in the world.
Yeah, well, listen, for me, Sesko, he's very young, 22-year-old player, great sort of physicality and pacing, technical ability. Given what Eddie's done with players already, there's certainly a greater ceiling to be reached with him, and improvements that I think we could make and certainly give him those opportunities. Plus, we've got Champions League this season, which is another great pull for the club. So I think he would obviously be biased, but I think he will be better off at the project at Newcastle United. You know what, this transfer window has been a nightmare for Newcastle fans. You know, we heard statements from Eddie. He wanted to get out of the gates early, get players in, get them in for pre-season. That hasn't happened. We're on skeleton staff at the moment. 2 directors of football have gone. Our CEO, God bless him, is very, very ill. We're just starting to hear about those replacements coming in now. So our recruitment has been one deal at a time. We've heard that directly from the club. So we're getting to a point now where we just need to throw the yen at people, get players in, and get cracking with the next season.